Um, it's actually a really unfortunate story. So I was training. I went through the full entire fight camp, and then the night before weigh-ins, I was watching Bachelor in Paradise, and I leaned over to grab the remote, and my knee just like it made a crunching sound. I was like, "Oh no!" And then I tried to like wait until the very last minute to pull out, but I couldn't even straighten my leg. I couldn't walk. I couldn't run. I had to use crutches for a little bit. So I had to pull out the day of weigh-ins, and I felt so bad for my opponent because she flew in from Texas to fight me, and she was in the middle of her weight cut when I pulled out. So I felt for her, but I should be fighting her next. We'll see if things line up. So hopefully she'll give me a second chance to fight her. It was just really bad timing, and it was a really dumb injury. I wish I could have said that I I tore my meniscus in the middle of training or punching someone or doing jiu-jitsu, but it was watching Bachelor in Paradise. So it's popped out like a few times during training, but normally I can just like pop it in and it continue training. But this time the meniscus flipped in my kneecap, so I wasn't able to straighten my leg fully. So that was the final straw, and then I ended up getting surgery, which is good in the long run. Now my meniscus isn't torn and I can train full out, and I won't have that in the back of my mind for my future fights. So I'm actually really excited I got it fixed. So I thought, I had a 1 fight contract with Bellator, and I was really grateful for the opportunity to fight on Bellator, and it was an awesome experience, but my main goal is to go to the UFC. So I think it was perfect for me to get that experience on a huge stage and a big win under my belt on Bellator. But I was kind of happy that they let me go. I think they wanted me to go improve my record a little bit and then bring me back. But I think my eyes are more on the UFC than going to Bellator. I'm signed with LFA right now, and that's like a feeder promotion into the UFC. They just signed with UFC Fight Pass, so all my fights will be on there now, which is really exciting. I'm hoping that in a couple more wins that I'll be able to fight on the Contender Series now that I'm local in Las Vegas, and then hopefully get into the UFC from there. So I live in Linden, Utah. It's a 1.5 miles long, so it's really small. It's in Utah County. It's in between Provo and Salt Lake. For those of you who are familiar with Utah, I love Utah. Like, I want to end up living there. I love the community. I love the people. It's super nice. People tend to be friendly, but it was a very conservative area. So it's like the opposite of Las Vegas. So it's a little bit of a culture shock moving down here, but I really do love Utah. So believe it or not, women's MMA is not huge in Utah. So there's a lot of LDS people that live there, Mormons, and it's just not a big community. Like, I was probably one of maybe 3 active fighters in Utah. There's just not very many women. So I needed the training partners. So I wanted to move to Vegas so I could get some training partners. But whenever I'm up in Utah, I still go and train with my old coaches because I still feel like they're some of the best coaches in MMA. I got in MMA. So I grew up doing dance, gymnastics, and cheerleading my whole life. And I grew up with 2 older sisters and obviously my mom and my dad, but so we didn't really have any sports in our family. So once I went to college, I tried out for the cheer team and I didn't make it, and I didn't know what to do with my life. And my first year of college, my friends took me to some MMA fights, and I was like, I'm going to do that. So I just found a gym and I started training. And I think it was just more of, I found a sport that I could compete into like being older. Like, a lot of women peak when they're 30 in mixed martial arts. And so I loved that I could still compete and I could still be an athlete in my older age. And I just loved that it's one of the hardest things you could do, and like mentally and physically just push yourself. So I love that part of it. And so it was just kind of like a big flip for me going from a cheerleader to an MMA fighter. So luckily I have a couple bags at home so I can do some bag work just on my own. But then I met with one of my coaches at the park yesterday and we hit some mitts. So that was fun. That was a good little training session we had, but I was definitely breathing heavy. So it's a little reminder that I need to get in a little bit better shape. So I actually work full time. I have a company called Bad Athletics, and it's a supplement company where we do online workout challenges, we sell supplements, and then we have gear and training apparel. So I'm really busy with that. Luckily, I have that where I can work remotely and online. So it's actually been doing pretty well in the quarantine. I think a bunch of people are just staying home and they're needing the at-home workouts, and they're buying online a lot, so it's really been good for our business. You can check out Bad Athletics if you want some at-home workouts, or if you want some supplements, or if you need some training gear or whatnot. So it's just badathletics.com, and then follow me on Instagram. If you have an Instagram, it's Kaytlin Katniss MMA. If you type in Katniss, that's a little bit easier to spell, and I should just pop right up.